Okay, we're gonna call the meeting of the regular meeting of the Heartland School Board. We're starting at 6:08 on Tuesday, November 1st. So take any changes or additions to the agenda by board members or, yeah. I do not know of a need for executive session anymore.
Yes, I was, so yes.
Okay, so we
Short.
Short, and
You don't have to always say that, yeah.
general topic? Okay, so, that'll be that. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of October 4th.
I wasn't here, I wasn't there for part of it.
So we can't vote. Do you have any advice for us on that?
We can vote on anything, same for next month.
Or table those for next month?
If Heather or Colleen shows up, then we can.
Yeah, then we'll come back. Okay, so that's on the agenda. Okay, we have public participation and announcements.
We're all here for that.
Two of us. Okay.
And you guys are here to watch them present. Support them and drive them.
And drive them home. Yes. Okay. And we don't have anybody online?
No.
Okay. We are gonna fly today. Okay, so we'll move into the administrative report.
So I will share.
Okay, but
You should have.
All right, so there it is up on the top. So I'd like to start with just some fun pictures, some walk to school day. Last week, the whole school took trips to the Heartland Volunteer Fire Department community for that.
And the rest of the department.
Yes.
Not much to do with it.
It was, they had a great time. The first picture on the left is some kindergartners making some apple crisp, which was really, really fun. It was in Emily Fouquet's class, and they made it all together, and when I came in, they were like packing the topping, or the brown sugary yumminess of the topping on top of it. Oh, this is so delicious. And I had to include that first picture from when we did an all-school assembly. It was that activity, I've seen on like, on rainbows, but like with real people in real life, it was great. It was a blast. We all had fun. Oh,
yeah, the algebra kids.
I know.
You guys are gonna have to have your own like day.
An algebra
Yeah.
kid activity day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. And Tina Skehan in the middle photo put on a Starbucks. It was like this little Starbucks creation that she had in the library. It was Starbucks. It was fantastic.
Oh, it's
Absolutely fantastic.
awesome.
And then another walk to school day picture. It was, yeah. So I will now turn it over to Maddie. So does it make sense, ladies? Would you like me to show the two that I have invented over to you?
Yes,
Okay.
but I did send you the picture.
Okay, so why don't I just do that? I will close out of here. Okay. I will stop presenting real quick, and then I will. That's good though. I almost got it now. Hold on, let's see. Did you share it? Or-
Yes, I did.
Oh, here it is. It's down there.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
There we go.
We're just talking about how we don't like that.
Yes.
When do we goes that way, then the TV's there.
Maddie, Catherine, you tell me when you want me to get this.
Okay.
I'll go over there.
So, well, wait a second.
I don't like the way we're arranged today. There we go.
Okay, so newspaper improvement presentation.
This is issue number 1. This is our very first newspaper. As you can see, there are a lot of parts that are pixelated and more difficult to read, and the formatting could definitely be better. But since it was our first paper, overall we did pretty well. We included some extra stuff like Pet of the Week and Artist of the Week, which as a class we agreed would be interesting to read about. So far we have included this in every newspaper. However, there are no articles, which is something we improved on in later issues.
Issue number 2. As you can see, this is our second newspaper. You can see some improvement in the newspaper and that more of the blank space has been used up, as you can see in some of the parts. But there's still some blank space. There is not a lot of structure to the format though, and because of that, this is what we focused on in our next issue. In this issue, you can see that lettering is in different sizes, and that you can't clearly tell the difference between ads and different things. There's no structure to it, and although we still need to improve, you can tell that there is some improvement from the last article in the fact that there aren't as many ads spread out throughout the newspaper.
Issue number 3, and this is the latest newspaper that we worked on. In our most recent newspaper, we have added in a lot more articles, two of which Maddie and I both have. This has made our newspaper seem more professional and longer, given that this issue is 3 pages long. We think it would be a good idea to continue with more articles because of how informative they are, and also because it makes the format pleasing to look at. We also included ads that are cleaner and more colorful than previous issues. And once we have a lot more compacted information, there is no confusion. A lot of it's compact.
Yeah. Conclusions, pretty short. But so in conclusion, we have improved in many ways throughout all 3 of the issues, and have worked really well together as an 8th grade class, working on these articles from the artwork and ads to the announcements and articles. Thank you very much.
Can you go back to the, this one? Yeah, that is just awesome.
So as you can see, there are 3 articles in here. This is one that I wrote, and then here's one that Kane wrote, and this is the one that Catherine wrote.
Awesome.
And then there are more ads and art throughout the
This is really good.
And I think we're expecting, as we work on it, it'll probably improve even more.
So how are you getting your classmates to help you write stuff?
We all kind of have different jobs. So there are people that kind of focus more on drawing, like Aurora, she makes comics. And then there are people that do announcements like Pet of the Week and Artist of the Week.
And then we does photography, right?
Yeah, and also some of the artwork. And then we also have ads reminding you about different things. A reminder to vote on November 8th. And then the Rec Center Halloween party. And those are kind of all throughout the newspaper. And then we have more of the articles on the front and center.
Awesome job, by the way. Where are you, you're sending it, so yeah, but where are you? Library, is it on the listserv?
Handed it out to some classes.
Yeah, we hand
Or we were going to.
2 or 3 out to each class. And then we put a bunch of them in the teacher.
Right. And I think is there an online option as well?
Yes, there is. That comes in color.
Is it just for students or would?
It's for teachers and students. So, kind of anyone in the school.
community members as well.
Yeah, but we are,
I don't know
that's the
where,
more online stuff. Yes,
I'm not sure where it is online.
I'm not sure. either.
You know, Sash, where it
I
is?
think it's attached to,
Oh, the Heartland Weekly?
Up your newsletter.
I wonder if it would be, I mean, I can imagine going into my store.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I could too.
That's cool.
Yeah, I bet they would carry some copies. And in the library, I bet if you dropped one off at the library, they would put it with the other newspapers so people could read it.
I'll keep that in mind in the next.
Yeah, Gigi's definitely. Gigi stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys, that's really awesome. And the improvement is amazing.
Yeah.
Like over 3 weeks, that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
So Mr. Butts, in a second, you are up next. So if you want to, do you want to run through these and just tell me when to hit next? Okay.
You want to come sit at the table?
Yeah.
You want to come sit at the- No, you know what, I want to rearrange because I can't take it.
It's like sitting back there finally got.
I know, it's rude, and I don't, we don't have anybody on the street, so. That's much better. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. Right now, I have no idea what it is. Okay, so, this first part up here, so the thing said, we're supposed to have on our PLP, let me get it started, our mission statements, and it's kind of interesting because, Maddie actually helped us build and create some of these. And so what we did is we pretty much went on to Leader and Me, and it has been one of those, it's a learn as you go, and so it's kind of neat because I think she would agree that my motto is that we don't have to do it perfect, we just have to do it. And so we started out with everyone had their own paper that pretty much broke down these 3 different points. And so they all did their own, and then we broke into groups. And I kind of randomized them so that it wasn't just their normal groups. And then they had to go through and see out of the ones that were there, which ones that they felt were the best. And so each one had, again, 3, and I gave them all the anchor chart paper, and so they created all that. And then from there, we actually then, I took pictures of all of them, put them on a Google form, and then they had to vote on it. So that it was truly going to be their mission statement. So on this one, and it was kind of neat because it was this group, ended up being the one that we had as our mission statement. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of, now that we have it and we've written it up, and we put it up, to be able to talk about it each day. So then we're able to say, this is what we're focusing on as our group and in our advisory to make sure we make it through the day without any issues. And it was really neat. When the words that are up at the top, you had to come up with like 3 different words that just kind of represented you. And again, we did the same process where they had to vote so that it was truly going to be their setup. It was going to be their idea as to how the classroom would work. And it's been kind of neat because now that we haven't done everything, we do talk about it. I know you missed that in the morning. I guess I need to do it at lunch too. But it does give us some voice and choice. But I think the best part about it is that they did it all, other than the direction and time. And it allowed them to see the process as to how we think through and how we did things. So it's kind of neat because the last one on number 3 was actually split 33%. So 4 people voted on it on each one of those. And so we again voted on it and we talked about it as to why it'd be better. So it was kind of neat to see that for them again, to see that process as to how things work out versus this is my mission statement that you have to do. It was actually their mission statement that we all get to do. So it's kind of neat on that. Let me go ahead and go to the next one. I need a tab. There it is. Okay, so on this one, there we go. So on this one, it's a little bit of a few things here. This was their process working through on this pieces here, and actually the same thing over there. So this was really what we did prior to that last one for the end piece. And again, I think if anything, I enjoyed watching them develop this because again, I told them that we had to use synergy, and I was like, that means that you can't just compromise. You have to be able to walk away saying win-win, and that everybody agrees with what you're going to go with. And so it's kind of neat to see that they did do that. So some of the groups changed what they had on their paper to put in with someone else's. So again, it was a great process of that. And again, it also helped them to start to understand Leader in Me a little bit more as well. And again, just some more of their processing through there. Yep. Okay, so this one, because I felt I might as well give you the whole shebang of what we do in there. This is our pilot for Great Minds. It's Eureka, or it's called, Eureka Squared. And so on here, what you'll see on this piece here is that students are, for me, once I send out the digital lesson, I can actually see what the students are doing. So instead of me walking around to each student throughout the classroom to try to see what work they're doing, they can actually put in their work on there. They can click submit and I can see what it is right there. And then whether the answer is correct or not, I can actually pull it up so that everybody can see it. So we can discuss that and we can talk about what is the misconception that happened there, or was everybody doing it correct, and we can move forward. So that's been a huge asset. And then the neat part is that over here, on a lot of those, it'll also pull up and show you exactly what they wrote. And they're like, here's my response. And then the best part about that for me is that since I have about a 4-year age gap, or a level of education in 7th grade, this allows the struggling learner to see what the answer is in the process that someone else did that is a little bit more advanced, and then to be able to create it and make it their own. So it actually allows them to have differentiation happen without me going over and saying, okay, I see you're struggling with this. What do I do? They can actually look at that and see it and then process it. And I always tell them you can't write what someone else wrote, so that it allows them to have to put it into their own words. And so it's been kind of neat to see that. And then this last one here was just kind of the, what did I put on that one? Oh yeah. And that's just another piece of it that shows where I can set up the different days and everything. So if I wanted to put out, and this was kind of neat, last week I had a lot of students missing. So I was able to send out quizzes and assessments, have the start and end time, and do all of that online. And so several of the students took advantage of that. So when they came back to school, they didn't miss any homework. They're actually ahead of the rest of the students. So it was kind of neat to see that too. Okay, here's the next slide. Right. And so this one was Kakuma. And this was a great interactive lesson that we had, which again is part of this pilot program, where one of the comments was, are we sure that it's going to be have enough manipulatives in it? Is it something that's hands-on? Is it something for all learners? Because if any of you know anything about Eureka last year, it was very word intensive. It was almost like just a little bit rung lower than college level material of how it's presented. This one's not that way. It's designed to where almost every other day there's a hands-on activity. And so this was the lesson. I quickly went over how to add integers, and then I allowed them to put it all together. And so it was really neat because the students, as they went through and they created all of their own, and so this is the one that they worked through that I kind of showed them how to do it, and then they got a blank one. And they had to create all their own numbers, they had to make them work. And the way this works is that you have to find 2 numbers that add up to be the third. So for this one, for example, if I add the -7 plus 4, I get -3, and then that goes down there. And you do that for each one, and then you end up down here with the final answer. The best part of that lesson was that some of the students were rushing through it. They're like, I got this, that's so great. And then they handed it to their neighbor to work on it, and they said, hey, this doesn't work. And so they had to go back, and they had to had to figure it out. And with just very little guidance to, again, point out, well, if it doesn't work here, then maybe we need to go back to this one, so that you have the right numbers to work for a final answer. And it allowed them to process and problem solve. And again, it was one where it took literally the whole class time for them to go through it, but it was one of those where I had 100% engagement. Everybody was excited because everybody was able to work at it at their level, and I did a good job of kind of marrying up the students so that even if they were a struggling student, they were with somebody who would be proficient and be able to work with them on it. So it was a neat way to do that. But again, this is just part of that pilot program. And on here, this is another example of just some of the things that are in there. This one actually dealt with, we were dealing with scale factor. So we had this gigantic bike, and then we had a mini bike. And it was like the smallest bike ever, which right now the record was it's about 5 inches tall. It was the smallest bike that this guy made. And so we were working on scale factor, and they got an opportunity to go up and do that. I think for the plug for teachers, the benefit of it is that I didn't have to go out and try to create all of this. I just had to pull it up, read over the lesson, practice and be prepared. The students did the rest of the work. And then this was my 8th grade group that they actually had flashcards. So for one day, they got to play war. And so they were literally playing war, but it was with, on this one, it was with integers and So again, it was at a higher level, but it was one where they had to work through that part of it in order to find out what to do. It wasn't just a number, they had to actually do some work on it. So again, nothing I had to do other than cut up the papers and put it out there. So it's nice for that. Go to the next one. So on here, this is the IDL projects that were happening in my classroom. Yeah, go back.
I think you hinted on this, but I know when we started the pilot, my hope, I guess I'll just tell you what I hope and you can tell me what you think of my hope. When we started the pilot, I was really hoping that switching from Eureka to Eureka Squared would be hopefully easy on the teachers because it has all the same ideas of Eureka, but just a presentation for the students and so that you.
It does. So, okay, so the difference, especially for me coming in a few years ago and getting involved in this, was that the things were there, meaning that I had the worksheets, but I didn't have like the how-to. And so with this, it's more of not only do I have that how to teach the lesson, there's UDLs in there that say like, hey, how do I differentiate? Again, it's not me sitting there and running through with my brain on how do I differentiate for the student. It actually gives you tabs to say, this is how you should differentiate for this. Here's questions you should ask to get it going. So I found that if anything, there's a lot of information in different places. So I think the challenge for most teachers would be understanding where it's at and getting that piece. I enjoy technology, so I'm probably a little bit further savvy on the technical side. But it's funny because Michelle and I one day found that the answer for it was actually inside the textbook. And I was like, I didn't use that one, so I had to go back and pull that up because I'm doing everything here. And so there's pieces like that where once we found that, oh, over here it says one thing, but to help us again as a teacher, it's still the same source. But the majority of stuff is literally online for us. And I think that's been the best part for me. When I initially started to do it, I actually created a slideshow until I realized that there was already a slideshow. So I don't have to create a slideshow. It's there, but I did. I pulled out everything. I had my objectives, I had my standards, I had all this put in there, and then I was like, oh, it's already here. I don't have to do that. So again, when I'm looking at the work that I had to do last year as compared to this year, it's not there. There's a huge difference. It's much easier for me because the majority of it's there. I think if anything, and I'm seeing, as I've been seeing and talking with other teachers, is that they're finally getting over the hump of understanding where all the material is and understanding that piece. But once that's down, it's been much easier to understand. It's been easier to differentiate from. I think if anything, like the one thing that I wish that they did have would be like a bank that I could go to if I wanted to have a student who was struggling with integers, and I should be able to pull up there. And I think that would be the only thing that I would like, is that if there was another way to reteach it, not present. But we do have access for all grade levels, which does make it nice because I can work from at different grade levels with students, and I do actually do that this whole day, and I can actually pull up lessons right there. Everything's there that I need, and again, I can work with the students. The ones that want to do it online, I can send it to them. So again, that's another perk that I didn't have from last year. So, yeah.
Two questions. One of the positives that we heard was the language vocabulary is going to be easier for kids. Eureka was language heavy, right? So I'm curious if you're noticing that. And then it does embed practices of UDL, which is great. Are there more interactive, hands-on games, authentic experiences for kids built in?
Yeah, like I said, so just on these, there's 1, 2, and then the other one would have been the third. Those were just, I would say almost, well, today we did one again where the kids had to, should have brought it, they did a number line, and then they had to, we're again still dealing with adding integers in 7th grade. So they had to show that, like, if it was -4 plus -3, well, how else could we write that? Well, we could write it as -4 minus 3. And so they then had to take those two things once they found that those were the same answer, and then partner that up with the number line, which showed how that worked. And so again, there was that full-on engagement. And for me, at least, I'd say it's about every third lesson where it's designed like that for them to be engaged. Are you seeing that in yours or not at all?
No. So I was just saying to Donna, as you were sharing like this game and the other, the board game, I'm not seeing that But we're all, we're not finished with module 1 yet, so it could be, it's coming. Maybe the first module is a little less.
Were there any in module 1?
There were a few, like the scale
Not as
factor
many
one
as
was
in
in
this
module
one.
one,
So
yeah.
maybe it's-
Yeah, not as
maybe it's
many. I do know that what was it, what I found that in order for me to find a lot of this stuff was that over where it says like the teacher's part, like the things for you to do at the beginning, the material, that's where you'll find the hands-on stuff. And it's after like that first or second page, as you scroll down, it'll say like, the things for you to get and the things the student needs.
Yeah.
And then they'll have that. And then again, it's one of those that you gotta kind of dig to, well, you go to resources and it should be there. And if it's not, it might be part of that. The first module might not be.
Could be, it's, I hope, because some of this stuff's not very popular.
And that was the thing, I think universally when talking with Patty was that everybody's module 1 was tough. And part of it is because a lot of what we are gonna do throughout the year, that's like, let's set the foundation for you, and we're gonna go back to it. So a lot of the stuff, several was just like, oh, we didn't get as far as I wanted to, I didn't get a strong grasp on proportions. Don't worry about a month, we're gonna go back over it again. So it's okay, because it's gonna be reiterated. And I think that, again, that was kind of the design last year as well. With Eureka, they really stuck with that, is that a lot of the teachers, throughout the SU said that that first module was the hardest to get through. And I would assume that that's why it's all about moving back into it. The other part that I think I do like is the fluency piece at the beginning. We don't have to come up with like a warm-up, it's there. But then there's also in their practice, the last 5 to 6 questions are spiraled work. So again, I'm not having to go back to what standards did we cover a month ago, or a year ago did they cover, or 2 years ago. It's spiraled in there. So the students are getting access, and isn't that way for yours? Well, it is a 7th and 8th grade, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we have a second book
Oh,
that has like teaching pages and the remember section.
well, maybe that's why we don't have that extra thing, is that it's
I
spiraled in
would
there.
rather
Yeah.
add it on to each lesson.
Because that's the way it is on ours, and it was that way day 1, is that last, like the last 5 questions, and it even says review on it, it's all the stuff that they should already know. And so that's kind of neat, because then it gives us an opportunity to see, like adding fractions, for example, even though that wasn't one of our standards, it was there. So then it gives me a chance to know, oh, these are the students I need to work with. So we'll have to come over and see what else you have.
I know, it's
for us.
interesting to hear some of the differences.
Well, you get Spanish on yours, I don't get Spanish.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what sort of supports, like, we're having this conversation,
Yeah.
what sort of supports are teachers getting for all of this?
Right. And each other.
Yeah, I know that, but like,
It's, yeah, we're literally,
Yeah, okay.
we meet monthly.
That's Patty.
With Patty, and Patty also is that outlet for that. And I don't know if we have another chance of having somebody from Eureka Square to come out and like work with us again, because I think if anything, it's just that knowing where the stuff is and knowing where to look and how to use it. Not to mention just even as we're talking, the differences in grade levels and how it's set up and why is it set up that way.
We also have grade level meetings,
Uh,
multi-grade level. Obviously, we're not in the same
Yeah, yeah.
grade level, because I haven't heard some of this before. But, so that's what's, that's kind of just getting started. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so IDL projects, when we started out at the beginning of the year, this was actually a Lego project that one of our students that's actually going to be transitioning from here put together. We were eventually going to get to the scale factor piece, but again, it was one where I wanted to meet students where they're at. So some of the other things that were happening, and I should have Maddie explain about the psychology in children, but we also do Dungeons and Dragons. So I had a group that was working on that. Which has been kind of interesting because it's actually growing, and it's I think the comments that I've heard from teachers is that they've been amazed on how much problem-solving skills the kids are working on, and they're like, they're not even battling yet. They're working on literally like communication stuff. And I was like, how cool is that? So there's that. The psychology in children. What exactly are you guys doing on that?
So
Come on. It's just so neat that it happened to work out that you were here because she's part of that project.
So me and Cassie, we conducted research through books, articles, read like letters from like psychology studies, and we made surveys for the entire school. They're like a little bit different for each survey, so that it's more fit for each grip, for each kind of pod. Um, and so we sent all these surveys and, or we have questions that we kind of brought from the research that we've done, and we've we've collected data from the surveys and the answers that we've gotten back. We still need actually a couple more, but then we want to host a gala actually to fundraise money for a for more that like stuff to help kids with like so that they're less anxious or like stressed out and stuff. And because based on the stuff that we've gotten through all of the grades, we've had some alarming results from the surveys, and we think that we really need to do something about it. And at this gala, we want to fundraise money to help with
Being able to provide those services to those students.
yeah.
One of the big questions that Cassie came with was she didn't feel that students were being diagnosed or treated appropriately based upon their age. And so oftentimes negative behavior was being written as that when it was more of an anxiety or stress disorder that might be happening that people just aren't looking at because of their age. And so the ultimate goal is for them to actually have only students. And so would you like to be a speaker? She said, and Cassie said, yes, all these students. So they would like to only have students during this event and be able to use those funds then back into the school to truly work with those students.
And we'd also like to present kind of what we gathered from the surveys to all the teachers and parents even, and what we can do as a community to help kids feel less anxious or stressed out when they're at school and at home. And have better environment.
So they were doing that, and at one point they were doing that in one corner of the room. Other kids were working on Legos. Another group was working on Dungeons and Dragons. And one of the other students on there was, besides doing the, he's working on a Chromebook charging station, which right now we're working on getting the material for it, because our Chromebooks are always everywhere, or the students take them home, we never charge them. And so we were like, why not actually build one? So he's working on that. And then what was else? There was one other thing that was happening. I think that was all of them. I know there's something else that was also transpiring in there. Oh, we have the outdoor. There it is. So the other teachers were working on. So that was all the stuff happening in my room because we wanted to give voice and choice. So we kind of really ran away from the mindset of how we had IDEA last year, and we really wanted voice and choice for the students. So I took all the kids that had the other stuff, and so that's why there seems like a lot there. The other teachers were working on creating an outdoor classroom, which students for the past few years that I've worked here yearned and said, this is crazy. We get to 7th and 8th grade and we don't get to go outside anymore. What happened? It's kind of like a punishment. So we have an area and they've been working on that. They've been really squaring it away so that there's an actual area for 7th and 8th graders to go to. And then I think our best one out of all of this, besides what they're working on, because it's great chatting with them on it. I just love the ideas. It's years ahead of where it should be, which is amazing, is our school store. And so again, the thought process is, maybe we really need to focus in on the students that do the right thing day after day. And they never get a moment of, oh, you did a great job, other than us saying real quick, oh, good job, and then they're out the door. And so we started giving them money for just coming in the classroom, sitting down, being prepared, and doing the right things. And then the benefit of that is that the school or the students that are in the school store, they have to run all of it. So they put together what items were to be sold there. They put together a grant to be able to get money to be able to buy the products that go into there. And then I think there was one other piece. Was there anything else that was in this note? Logistics. So then, do you want to talk about that piece? She's like, no.
It's not
So,
that much that I'm gonna say, but Joey and I are working in logistics, and so we figured out like the location, what we would use to find like a cart or whatever we would use to sell items, and we are not really running it, but we're the ones physically selling the items, and so far it's been on Mondays and Fridays, but
spring faces on full.
Is the school store open for everyone or is it just for students?
Well, so
It's just
just 7th and 8th for now. We had, again, let's look at the bigger picture. Some teachers might feel that as this is another duty that I have to do in addition to all the other things. And I always feel bad because I always take my money home and then I leave it at home. So I'm like, sorry guys, I'll get you later. But I'm all for that. I'm like, this is what I get.
I think another too, like there's a lot of kids, and I think there's like a lot of kids really. It's like I think for a lot of kids that get stressed out by schoolwork, like we develop something while they work focused. I think that helps a lot.
And I would agree. I've seen several of the students that got to spend their money on fidget so that they had something to do in class. And so our ultimate goal is really to be able to not only just reward those positive behaviors, but to allow students to see that this is what we're looking for, this is our expectation, and to try to see if we can hit those behavior issues on the front end versus on the back, which oftentimes is where we're at, is trying to fix things versus why don't we take care of it before it's broken. Okay, and I think there was, and then this was, now you're gonna have to remind me, what was it? GimKit. So this is one where the students taught me about, and you can probably go to the next one after that. GimKit is actually, so have any of you ever heard of Among Us?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like Among Us with you have different things you have to do. You have to go through and you're like planting seeds, and so you have to work to do that, or you have to do some type of task in order to get the money to do that. And then there's different areas where, like down here on the bottom left, where you can just sit and you can earn money or energy just solving problems. And it goes for all different types of subjects. We did it for math, of course. So and we did it as teams. Our team lost. I don't know what happened on that one.
You also don't even have like a lot of kids that have, or at least that's one of my friends. They've done it like outside of school too for things they enjoy. Like Lainey and Nick, they've done hockey ones before. And it's even a different setup, so it's not like farming. It's like an ice rink or something. And it's really cool.
Yeah, so definitely give voice and choice to the students instead of saying, all right, we're going to do a Kahoot. They said, why can't we do this? And it was kind of neat because on that one, you could match up as teams. So you could have one group of students working on the math problems, the other one's going out and doing the tasks. And so it's kind of neat to see that and to give just again, another option for students to have on how they learn, which for me was like, wow, there's something you actually enjoy. Let's do that. All right. Okay. And then this was our, this one was kind of funny. I'll let them do it their way. So this was our door for Halloween, and it was the anti-door. It says, do not do drugs. And then they were ecstatic about it, but it was kind of interesting because Miss Hatch, one of them said, she wouldn't let me put the stool on the door. And I said, it's your door. And so they truly put it together. And again, it was kind of funny because I know. Because they were so happy to do it their way. And I think the best part about it was that on the paper, it said, this is the scary store because it has math on it. And so there was a calculator on there and a ruler and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness. But again, I looked at what is the buy-in and how do I want to do it to where everybody's participating. And it was to allow them to do it their way. So, and I think, was that it? Yep, and that's it.
Can I ask,
Yep.
for those of us who judged the doors,
Yeah.
who were the winners? Who ended up winning?
Yes. Miss Fusco went far.
Which one was
She
that?
won with the spiders.
The spiders, those
Yes,
were cute.
yeah,
Oh,
The
yeah.
spiders, I went to spider, or like, and the spider one's in the graveyard thing.
Yeah, that was
I don't
cute.
know what the other grade was. Miss Fusco, Miss McCarthy in 3rd grade, and Miss Smith in 2K. Okay, so what was Miss McCarthy's? Hers was the one that had all those little light up candles.
Oh, yeah, leading to it.
Oh, yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, okay. And then TK was.
It was like every kid did a little drawing or something.
Yeah.
They put their pumpkins out and they practiced making the letters for their name.
Yes.
And then they put their letters on the, so it was like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Lots of fun.
I wanted to follow up with the board after Jamie came last month. So she got back to me at this point, her estimate on repairing those instruments that she talked about last month is about $2,500. So I just wanted to let you know that's
And then the next part, I'm gonna let Alina take from here. We've got a few slides on social emotional learning, what we do in the proactive way, and how we try to utilize all the supports that we can in helping people in our class.
So, since our last board meeting, we went and spoke with our counselors as well as our, SEI teachers, right? And, they put something together for you for our primary grades. This is from Laura Whalen. These are some of the things that she works on with her students as she goes into classrooms. And she also is pulling small groups for lunch bunches, and she also is working individually with students, whether they're brought up through the MTSS process, whether they're brought up for other reasons, or if she's just doing check-ins with students. And she definitely is going over feelings and how to identify, how to express those feelings appropriate for grade level. Here's all the different topics. I'm not going to read all of them, but here are the topics that they're going to be learning about throughout the year, depending on which grade level, and it does grow as when you get older. Like the music. I do like how you can go. Oh. Right? And then when I was speaking with Ms. McDermott, and I'm sorry, Laura Whalen does work with and Grady and Ms. was in, but she also does a lot of things that Ms. McDermott did. She holds lunch with students on different needs. And then during their SEL lessons, they're really working on the round circles of communication, what it is that students are expressing their needs, their wants, they're doing surveys with their students and communicating out with teachers about how students are feeling, as well as all the lessons that go into it. They're getting their school teachers, well, it's into well. And here's just some markers. And then we are going to get into, I'm going to actually read from the slides that Ina and Alicia provided.
I just have a quick, so is like sex ed and things like that covered in health? I didn't see that as a bullet going down. Those things are starting to be introduced.
We learned about it last year in seventh period. We had like a 3-week lesson on it. And I think, yeah, it was later in the year, so I think we'll have to do it this year.
And don't they do in either 5th grade or 6th grade, they do a sort of changing bodies unit too, right? Yeah. My memory is that's like 5th grade or?
Yeah, I think like around then you do like kind of on your own, like, kind of, like gender, like, and then last year we learned about the opposite sex.
We are huge into positive rates this year. We have a few different locations. One of the locations is right up here in front, and we have an area where a para or a teacher can bring a student who can do an independent activity or a little small group activity with Legos, with small items, just taking a break from everything for a positive reason. And then we also are going to get right into our SEI stuff, social emotional dimensionists. What their main goal is, I'm going to read straight from the slides here. Often when working with students, we try to keep them in the classroom as much as possible, so we try to use push-in when possible. Social skills groups and lunch groups normally start in November and support small group learning. These groups are designed based on the need and time and work to develop lacking skills. Students who might need more support, they click on the less support plan, designed to focus on specific lighting skills. Students working with SEIs will also introduce different coping strategies to students. things like breathing techniques and the use of substance abuse activities to help them.
How are the interventionists overlapping or working with We Are Hope? That seems like kids are doing We Are Hope and working with interventionists.
We Are Hope is very specific. I mean, we're only looking at 6 to 8 weeks of really intensive coaching. It's not even counseling, it's coaching. They're providing the skills to the students. They're working through things. They're with students almost 5 days a week. Some students are on adjusted plans, which are 3 days a week.
Yeah, my son went through the program, but it was more like it seems like sometimes the team of adults that are working with that student aren't necessarily getting that full, like the SEIs aren't necessarily talking to We Are Hope. Folks of saying what's happening within those things.
This year they are. So We Are Hope works really closely with me. They're sending out weekly notices to teachers as well as our SEIs. So that way, if they're building anything into their coaching, we're also using that with their break systems. We're implementing that in their behavior plans. We're adding all of those types of skills. So that way, we're all having the communication together. So that's been my goal this year, is making sure that the communication is going back and forth and we're implementing the same things and there's not confusion. I'm just going to developing a space that allows students to escape sensory overload is very important. Currently, we have a beanbag and fun lights that change color. We're hoping to start using the diffuser, as smell is heavily linked to emotions and memory. This can help students when they're not able to use words or highly escalated to regulate. So this is their space to use quite a bit. It's a place to work as well as a place to relax. The Sleep Warriors, where we host our positive breaks, do check-ins, and sometimes hold lunch breaks. This is timed break where we try to provide a win-lose game choices and sensory choices as well. This break is a great opportunity to connect with our students. It is a break for them, and they are in charge. They get to choose what table they want to sit at. They also choose their activity. They also choose the conversation. It is time where we get to talk about what's on their mind before transitioning back. We talk about what they'll be doing when we get back, reading the room, and taking deep breaths before entering. So I've noticed that the games are constantly changing on the tables. And if a student doesn't need a sit-down break, then sometimes if the gym is open, they'll play basketball with the students. They'll take a walk, or there's also a trampoline for some of our students that need that just big movement. So they utilize that as well. So this is not the only positive break, but we use this just for positive breaks. Sensory calming breaks are used to help students regulate and get back on track to be able to come to class again. These are great for getting kids sensory input and output that they might not be having in other settings. Sensory-based activities can help calm and regulate in their personal space as well. Help these things.
And then that's that part. Thank you.
Yes. I got a question about how many students are using, like, how often are students getting positive breaks or like calming breaks? Like,
it depends on the student. Some students, we have it put into their plan. A teacher will have a walk-in and say, so-and-so is, the initials, is on their 10-minute positive break or their 5-minute positive break. So we set a timer, the student meets with myself or one of the SEIs, and we do the positive break with them. We have quite a few students that's in their plan. Other students that, when we're doing push-ins and they're doing really great, then we'll go ahead and check with the teacher to make sure it's the proper time. They'll get pulled out for a quick positive break and put in. They're so good at this. So is Alicia. They'll walk into a class to do check-ins, and they'll see the students starting to get concentrated, regulated, and they'll check in with the teacher. And before that student has the time to escalate, they'll pull them out and be talking regularly, right? Not necessarily a fun walk, just to get the students back in the place that they can go and learn. And then they'll go into the classroom, do a push-in and help the student in the height. So I think they're both phenomenal at really going in the beauty of the realm and students, so that way we're not they're more in the classroom. Not even my big push, and their big push this year. That was their, we want kids in the classroom. How can you help support us? And I supported it 100%. I think it's awesome how they're working with students.
Do the kids ever ask for the positive breaks? I mean, can they say, like, I feel like I need one right now, and
And that's in some of their plans as well, that they have to learn how to communicate. So it's first, they're given certain times a day, and then some students are given cards where they have to turn in their card for a positive break, and then it's turned into, I can vocalize. So depending on their age and things like that, we're trying to get students to advocate for themselves.
Next is just some upcoming events. We are doing a relocation drill that will have some more information in Wildcat Weekly on the 10th. So it's the morning of the early release, where it'll essentially be everyone here relocating to, if we ever need to leave to an alternative location outside the school for whatever the reason may be, it's Damon Hall and the rec. And so we've got to organize with the town. So that's what we're doing. Yes, Maddie.
Sorry, I have one question. Is this going to be like when algebra students are like?
We'll be back, oh gosh, because it starts at about 8:30. I know.
We already have an age plan, they're gonna hang out here when we get back. They'll be here at 9.
Yeah, we're there, that, or we could always talk to our teacher and head that day or something.
Because that they would only have like 30 minutes of class.
Yeah.
So maybe there's-
It might just be better to just stay here and just do it here.
I'll get a hold of it.
Parents are gonna need a lot of room.
Yeah, so,
I'm waiting to say it.
I'll put in the Wildcat Weekly, but I'll also have a robocall go out the night, the day before. To remind everyone that's happening.
That would be good.
Yep. we can do that.
and will we pick up? Will kids be picked up at the alternate location, or they'll come back?
They'll
Okay.
come back here, yep, so it'll, drop off will be the same in the morning, because it's an early release day, the pickup from here will still be the same, it'll just be around 8:30, we'll do the relocation, and then come back for the rest of the early release day. And then the early release is the same day, the 10th, and then we have conferences, the 10th and the 11th.
So you asked like one of the reasons that we would do that, we're right next to the interstate. And we've, in the last 5 years, we've evacuated all of North Heartland, for an interstate, tanker car. I think there was also a rail incident once. I honestly feel like that's the most likely situation. It's just some kind of accident, just getting everybody.
It's good just to practice it.
Yeah, it's good just to practice it. Yeah.
And then also-
It wasn't until you mentioned that, I was like, we are right next to the interstate.
Yeah, yeah, and actually
Everything.
Christine and I, and a couple of the other administrators from SU tomorrow are heading to the governor's safety conference. 400 people are attending. Wow. And it's free for all.
So are the kids transported with buses, or are they all walk over there?
They'll walk.
Good weather.
Yeah, that's a help, right? Good weather.
70 degrees.
Yeah,
Like the last 2 weeks.
I know, would that be nice? All right, I'm next and I'm gonna be quick. My report is linked, so you can certainly access it. I'm just gonna highlight the survey that went out to staff at the beginning of the year, which is around direction and commitment, which is what you needed. You gotta have direction and how to better do your work online. Work, but it all has goals, and there needs to be commitment. So we surveyed the staff. We did, we showed the video that we made last spring, that we showed at the community forum to the staff, because really, even though we've been in this pandemic and, stress mode for the last 2.5 years, we have made great progress towards our goals. So we showed them the film, and then we did the survey, and really the results were pretty good in directions. We know where we're headed. We know what we want for our kids. and the commitment is there. We have amazing teachers who love the kids, love what they do, and even when it's hard, they're still here and they're hopeful and they're doing the work. Our alignment was where we saw we needed to do the most work. And so some of the things that we're putting in place, to work on alignment are differentiated professional development, to making sure people are getting what they need, and it's not the same. The same doesn't meet all the needs. And then I was voicing that. Our middle level model meetings, Mr. Butts leads that work. We're trying to get that model, and we're doing a great job up and running so that our middle schoolers have what we can see was employees and how to get similar experience across the SU. So that work is underway. We've got leadership teams that staff are leading around the areas that we know are important and aligned with that direction. We have a trauma team, wellness team, and diversity and communication team meeting. We have our SU-wide MTSS system, which is really led by Brittany and the TSS coordinator, and that is moving forward very effectively and efficiently. So we're really proud of that work. I meet monthly with the Faculty Advisory Council, Support Staff Advisory Council, and just hear them and listen to them and talk about what's going well and what's not going well, and talk about what we feel about it. It's been well attended and well received. Our leader in the implementation, which is in different places across the SU, but it's moving forward in a positive way. Our curriculum coordination, we're just about to talk about Eureka. We've got more work to do in other content areas for sure. I would say ELA is probably the next curriculum that we tackle, and we're really working on administrator instructional leadership. So I'm meeting with principals regularly and using inquiry cycles, trying how to practice it and working on those together. So those are the things that we're doing. I'm sure there's a lot more to do, but just to give you a sense of where we're at. And then,
before you go on, years ago, I want to say like 5 years ago, you and I had a discussion about how we had like 15 different initiatives and they were all going, this was before we did any of the strategic planning, and how it just felt like there were too many initiatives. Now it feels like we're making a lot more progress. And it
we
feels
still have too much on our plate.
yeah.
Like,
Has the strategic plan helped focus that energy, or does it still feel like overwhelming?
I think we're in a better place than we were last year, but
Are we in a better place than we were 5 years ago?
What did you say?
Are we in a better place than we were 5 years ago? I just remember like us having a really intense conversation before the strategic.
I think all the work is aligned. There's still a lot of work, and people are still overwhelmed. But we're working on it. We're listening. We just and we're trying to do the work also during the contracted work day. It's almost impossible. I mean, the job of the teacher just isn't 7.5-hour day. It's not. But trying to honor that so that people have a balanced life, right? Yeah. They can go home and work with their own families and do things. So we're trying to limit that work and those meetings. Heard from the staff, we made an alternate plan based on their feedback recently, which I think will help. I think, leader in need may feel like one more thing, but if you can see it as, so here's the strategic plan, here's the mechanism we're going to use, the tool we're going to use to reach that plan, I mean, that's what it does. And it's powerful if you embrace it. But it is something else to do, right? So yes and no.
Yeah.
They're working hard.
Yeah, anything I would say is that this year, I think most of the teachers have realized that the administration we have now is willing to adjust. I think one of the big things that we talked about was, is it leader or me, or is it, well, there's something else, IDL. And it was like, if we need to, if there's, where do you want, because we have 3 new teachers in middle school, where's our money best spent? We've already spent it on Leader in Me, let's teach them Leader in Me. We can, pause back or pull back a little bit on all this. And I think that there's been a better communication with administration to be able to say, what else can we do? Is there a way where you guys can front load us with ideas where, again, it goes back to that, now if I create this, now I have to, walk through all the steps, and there's that additional planning that people don't realize. And so I think if anything, there's that piece of, yes, there's a lot there, but then being able to go back and say, well, that's really a fine Leader in Me. What is our big rock? What should we start with? And then let's get rid of the other stuff and focus on this for now. And so I'm seeing that.
Still a lot.
Oh, yeah, I
Count that. The progress we've made in the last, during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think people are committed to giving students more. That's important, and they will be. So, and it's not, you're not going to pull it. There are places where that makes it different. Culture, and behavior, and so I just couldn't not share the middle level fall ball, which was last week, which was student planned. It was a passion period project for the middle schoolers. So they did all the legwork, they planned it, they got out the invitations, we had a personal video invitation to go to the fall ball. They did all the decorating, the food, but it was wonderful. And there was I was there. It was definitely a middle school dance. Awkward. And there was a little bit of dancing, and some running, and some crying, and some breakups.
Oh, God.
Oh, it was middle not at all.
It was an Oz when someone got flowers.
I was gonna ask if some kids from the other schools went. Good.
There were
A
lot of.
I saw you there, Mr. Bus.
Yeah.
That's great. Excellent. I guess mine was too.
Well,
Next year.
Maybe
Next year.
there'll be
Next
another
year.
one.
They have spring fling.
Yeah, it was really, I thought it was really successful.
That would be cool.
You should have it here though.
We are. They kind of threw it, yeah, they did tell
You have
us.
to rotate
Corinne
around.
said,
Spring
we'll bring
fling.
the food and drinks, you need to
We
provide
had
the
a
place.
snowball
So-
last year, and it wasn't the greatest because
Oh,
it was
no,
like
those are
7th
first
and
dance
8th grade,
ever.
and it was like split in half. Like the gym was split in half. They
Oh,
had them
that's right.
separate,
Yeah.
and like you got 30 minutes of dancing,
Oh,
and
that was
like
really
it was
weird.
just
And it was
really
during the
weird
school day,
because
so it was like 45.
yeah, it was during the school day, so everyone was just sitting in there, and it was kind of awkward. And then you switched, and you went and made food.
And it was like almost all the guys were like lined up against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like.
It was
Yeah, school dance.
yeah, it was interesting because it was just like split up, and you're like, well,
I think the kids should play
so you're
that.
like,
Yeah, you guys should plan the spring
You tell us what you need.
Yeah, I like it. It's a project.
Hopefully.
It's a challenge.
Got it.
It was fun. The kids were, there were no huge behavior. So, successful overall. Leader in Me, we are, Ford Bark, our coach, still working with us. She meets with us regularly. Coming on, she was here in November, here in October. And, met with the coordinators, Lindsay, Nina, and then she'll be back in. And I just wanted to shout out to the Heartland middle school community. We had 3 kids, 3 of them apply to be part of the Vermont State Youth Council. I don't know if they made a cut, but they applied, which is awesome. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Yes.
And the rest of this, I just included on here, there's a couple points in the rest of our agenda that I wanted to just keep all of it. One is Heartland School, and then the budget update is, Nikki and I thought it was better as separate items, so there are slides in here for you, but not necessarily in our.
Excellent, thank you.
I want to rearrange it with him.
Okay,
I kind of like it like this.
This feels a little adversarial, though. I don't.
It does, we could mix, but
whatever
it's so
there.
much better with the audio.
I know. I like. Yeah.
Yes. Not now, but next time.
We're not adversaries.
In 10 minutes.
I know. Well, it's kind of funny too because you guys were like all in shades of black. So. Sorry.
That is scary.
Like, it just creates a dynamic.
You're looking at fun colors. I see this.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Maddie. That was great.
Use your computer. Your computer extender.
Apparently we did not win, however.
Oh.
So hopefully someone else in this room did. Okay, that was not what I was expecting. Okay, so that was the administrative report, clearly I had and then about a half hour. Okay, items for discussion. I heard there was a survey on the Heartland School name change.
So I will represent my screen. I could have left it right up.
I know. But we needed the transition.
Yes. Give a second.
Yeah.
So I did create a survey around the board's idea of changing it to Heartland School. So the next two slides are just some graphs as well as some comments from people that I got. And I tried to get comments all over the board of pros, cons, anywhere in between of just what people.
I really enjoyed the comments.
The comments were
You like?
great.
I enjoyed
like,
it.
I like how like some kid or some if appears to be a student wrote about all the things and then finally like at the bottom like had this realization that it was like, yeah, actually we should do that. I was like, yes, okay.
It was
That
good.
was funny.
Yep. So I tried to keep the questions as simple and as clear as I could in creating it. So I said, "What do you think the name of our school should be?" Heartland Elementary School, and I just wanted to make sure that's to stay as the same it is now option.
Yeah.
Or Heartland School.
Yeah.
And it was
So
interesting.
It's pretty evenly,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
evenly
Okay,
split.
so
Yeah.
what grades and students did this get sent out to? Like, did kindergartners do this?
Largely older kiddos. I mean, I could re-give it again to younger kiddos. It just gets a little trickier because it's like your kindergarten class. It's only one, like in the K class, they're doing it as one.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all one, it just gets a little trickier. So yeah, primarily older and staff. And then URA, staff, so percentage wise, more students and staff.
Yeah.
And then I can leave up here some of the comments, just a couple pages of comments. You're right, Heather, some of them I thought were really good.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the one that is right up at the top on the right-hand side that says, there are more pressing needs and this would be an added expense.
I know.
Was
What does that mean?
Was that a faculty?
It could,
I
I don't know.
I can't imagine, I can't imagine a student saying those words, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I intentionally didn't email like who said what responses,
Yeah.
so I don't know who sent it, I don't know.
I didn't know what, I didn't understand what that comment.
Well, I mean, I think there probably would be some added expense because things like, the sign we talked about actually wouldn't cost too much because we may be doing a new one anyway. But there's the big sign out by the road.
Yeah.
There's, the website would have to be gone through, that would be some hours of Larry's time or something.
Hey,
Not Larry's anymore.
I just want people to notice, remember I said we should call it HEMS? Someone else thinks it should be called Heartland Elementary.
I noticed that too, Heather.
HEMS.
That's
HEMS
another
for life.
option. Yes.
There it is.
Well, there is another page, shall we just?
Yeah.
I like that I would feel weird to not call it Heartland Elementary School. So I guess.
The last one is the last one's interesting to me too. This idea of that we're mature, that we're not in elementary school for 9 years.
You have to understand, those are comments that students truly say.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I can act this way. I'm in elementary school. I'm like, but you're in 8th grade.
Oh, wow, so they really do use the elementary school. They throw it out.
Yeah.
And I also like the people who stated that like the other schools in the district, nobody's called elementary school unless they're truly an elementary school, and I feel like that's important to note.
They notice. I do have to tell you all, it's very funny that my middle schooler came home and said, it's ridiculous. They're asking us if we want to change the name of the school. Who would ever bring that? Like, who would ever want to like to make I was like, is it you? Actually, so funny. She was like, why are people worried about this? Who would do that? So one of those votes, you know who one of those votes was.
I had a similar response. Yeah, I think that was, yes, that was it for that. Well, then what do we do?
I feel like we need like, I mean, these meetings are open, and if the larger community, who are not in the school, don't really attach to it, like, how do we get the word out that like there is a possibility that that there's an interest to change the name?
I mean, I would think we have a meeting and advertise it, put something on the listserv.
Yeah.
And ask for community input. Maybe have two meetings even.
Just on that.
Where there's a time that people can come and talk about it and.
Yeah. I think, we almost have to either advertise a lot or present it, during our annual meeting.
Right.
And stir the pot during the annual meeting so that people are engaged.
Yeah.
No,
It could even be in the,
That's the only time we get 10 people.
right, exactly. And it could even be in Lindsay's, report to the community, so it would be in the town report. I think the more opinions, the better. I mean, I don't feel strongly enough about it, but I want to push it through in silence. Like, I think we should, really see what the community thinks,
The moderator of your town announcement.
I'm sure,
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot more people at the town meeting.
I mean, we do an update of what's going on at the school, and it could just be
And
part
that
of the
could be part of
update
that, yeah.
of what's going on at the school.
On the town meeting day, when everybody's sitting at home for a little.
No, in our,
In ours.
in
Yeah,
our
school district
report,
meeting.
yes, we add something to the town meeting.
Yeah,
We, yeah,
Yeah.
there's way more people, I don't
I don't know if, I mean, I'm happy to ask, or if it's awkward, we can ask him. He's comfortable with that,
They may not.
He may not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think that our better bet would be to do it at our meeting. But we get enough people that are spread out in the community at our meeting that we could stir the pot.
Right.
And then word would get out there, and then,
And will we have remote also with that?
I don't know, I'm not there yet. Apparently my report's due on December 5th. The email just went out today from the town to have our reports in.
Oh, I've got to schedule some that says January 1st, so they want to invite some.
Oh, it never ends. Fire chief is it, but.
Lindsay, in one of your emails that you send out to parents and such, would we be able to, because like I feel like parents should know that this is happening. Could we get a survey for them, just, almost the same thing as what you sent out to the kids, and just get some parents' feedback on this, because,
I
just
can put a
put it in
link
the
to the
newsletter.
survey in the Wildcat Weekly, so that someone can just click on it.
Click it.
Pull up
Oh,
the
yeah.
survey.
That's a great
Can
idea.
you just add parents?
I would also, I don't want to just send it out to parents, though.
No, I don't
That
either, but I feel like
minimizes
this is the
alumni.
next,
Right.
this is the next.
Could I have Linda, or Linda or myself put it on the list as well?
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
the listserv would be,
Okay.
because it is, I mean, those are the people who I imagine might have a problem with it,
Right.
is people who graduated from Heartland Elementary School.
Exactly, that's why
They-
you don't want to just send it.
But will you just put it in your weekly as parents too? Okay,
Absolutely, I'll give you both.
got it. And if you like parent community member,
Do you want it in similar questions, and if I go back,
Yeah,
what do you think the name of our school should be, and word it in a similar way?
yeah.
And then I probably wouldn't necessarily need the you are, or.
I think you could do parent.
Yeah, I
Parent
would do
or community member.
Yep.
But alumni.
Or both alumni.
Yeah, I would have 5. Well, we had student staff, and we'll keep those activated in.
Yeah.
And then parent.
I mean,
community alumni.
community members too, even if you're not an alum, you might
have some.
have thought, you might have thoughts about it.
Yeah, and I could probably do it where if you're a community member, but
Right.
also an alumni, you're probably both.
Yeah.
Yep,
all
that apply. Yeah.
Well, we may need a sentence as to why we're doing, why we're interested. Because I suspect that some of our community members may not
Yeah.
even know that 8th grade is not relevant.
What do we
Or-
consider middle school? Do we consider it 7th or do we consider it 6?
That's what we were talking about today. I don't really like that we in band we're talking about. Like we were for 7th and 8th grade, it's like on 6th grade is kind of 7th from that. So some people consider 7th and 8th middle school because they're more together, but 6th grade, like we share, we have similar schedules, kind of 6th grade, we do lunches and advisories.
And I think the reason we got the this is changed year for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's, we're good now, it is 6 through 8, but all the systems haven't changed to catch up to that change.
Well, and the goal is for 6th, 4, and 7, 8, 7,
I think part of that is the COVID really set back students elementary. So most schools, if there were no COVID, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. But again, for looking at developmental age of the 6th graders, they're 50%. So then looking at the gap is where we're at, it makes it a challenge to stay on the bread. So we decided to wait until that second half of the year to allow them to, he used to just be a 6th grader and separate those communities. So that kind of will help you see the understanding. And not with us, because if you were to go to Windsor, they're all in the same area, they're all in New England, they'll have the lunches together, and that piece of also the building too.
So Nikki, the language around the why we're interested in doing this, do you want me to run that by you before I send it out?
No.
No, that's it, okay.
That's right. You know more than I do. So.
Okay, so then that's it for, awesome, yep.
Okay. But we'll just keep slowly keeping that on the agenda. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you both for engaging.
Catherine, thank you for being
Outspoken and letting us know what your thoughts are. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell Maddie the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, these comments are great.
Yeah, no, it's fun to hear.
They were all over, which I liked, because I was like, you had some that have very strong opinions in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the next item the budget update?
Yes.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yep.
I can do that, okay. So some things, it's not necessarily an exhaustive list, I tried to do like, some things we wanted to keep and some things we wanted to add in, which looks like a lot of it. But this year we're bringing back winter activities, which I know was really intentional on the board's direction. So Linda and I will work on winter activities, which is going to be fantastic. We're really
Is this like
excited
half
about it.
days where the kids get to go again?
Yes.
Oh, thank
Yes,
goodness.
it's gonna be great. We're excited. And it actually ended up working out. So John Leonard at the rec let us know it was actually cheaper for the skiing program end of it. It was cheaper to buy passes for all kids for the season than it was to buy multiple day passes.
Oh, wow.
It's $99.
Exactly. So
That's
we
great.
did the pass instead because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
And they get to
And then
use
they
it,
have
like,
it for the whole
win-win.
season.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Great.
So do parents have to buy the passes? Still?
No.
So,
Right? Is that how it happened in years past?
No,
Yeah,
this is
good money,
new
good
this
money.
year.
Yeah, I have a
this is what we
school
passed
that
last year.
did a
So-
season.
Not your pass.
But
No.
The kids.
so
The
wait,
kids.
so I should not buy Ruby and Russell a ski passes.
Not to S6.
No, okay, so asking you to say something, okay, you
Yep.
just saved us
But you-
$200.
Hey, there's no-
But you should get that out as soon as possible, because I
Yes.
just know the
Yes.
deadline for Suicide Six, like Chris was calling, was like today.
Yes.
To buy passes
Oh, it was.
affiliated with adults.
Oh,
Because the
God,
adults
okay.
get a discount
Yeah,
if you buy a kid's pass.
Oh, they did not let us
Oh,
know that.
And so-
Okay.
I know, I think Chris made a call to figure out, of like, if my kid's like, do I still get a discount? What do I do? Like, so there was some sort
Yeah.
of connection and
Right.
deadline, like,
Interesting. There was some turnover in F6, which made it a little bit tricky for John to get some answers, so.
yeah,
while there
I
was-
still want my student, my pass with my kids discount.
I know.
Yeah, because
Because it would
I'll
be
just have to
cheaper.
land on that one, because the tricky part, like Linda was going to send out to families soon, but I know it hasn't been sent out yet.
Yeah.
Around like choosing what activity you wanted, so families haven't done that yet.
Right.
So maybe there's a way that Linda, John, or I could reach out to S6 and just say, hey, we haven't done this part on our end, because we're trying to give families enough time to see what the options are, instead of just throwing at them like, here, if you think you're gonna ski, don't.
You want to buy extra passes if you
Yeah.
still do it.
Right.
Just gotta figure out what makes the
It
most
might be
sense.
cheaper.
Right, that's a good point.
Right, it may be cheaper.
It may be cheaper for me to buy the $99 pass and you get the $350 for adults and pay the whatever, season pass.
Yeah, well, in that case, we'll save a little money, because there'll be
Yeah,
some kids who already have.
Well, and that was kind of the intent last year too, is that if parents ended up buying their own.
Currently we have a halftime PR coach, so that's something we would like to, as it is. Some things to consider adding in, if you would be okay with me walking through adding the budget on these. I would love to look into, Larry gave me a quote, from last year in Windsor, so it's relatively the same here. To have an instructional audio system in the grade 5 classroom.
What is that? Like,
Yeah,
what's
so
the
it's like-
instructional audio system?
It depends on the brand, but it could be a teacher wearing something around their neck that projects to the whole room. So a person, even though a room this size, there's a large sound decrease from Nikki and I away. And so it allows for, there's a video in the next slide or two that talks a little bit about the brand specifically that Larry gave me the quote for, but it could be really beneficial for a large number of our. Currently, we have some that are in place, and the younger, we have a phone access system that Brittany a number of years ago had gotten a grant to the Glenn Foundation to get. Those are about 5 or 6 years old now, so are on their later stages. So my hope would be potentially if we could do this in the 5 through 8 classrooms next year, to then target another classroom the following year and just stagger installing that into classrooms.
Is that for kids with hearing loss, or is it kind of for, does it help with attention?
It helps with
Or
Or
how is it?
attention, it helps with all of the things. It can help
Okay.
if there is any sort of hearing loss. It can help for a kid that has no diagnosis of anything at all. It can help for attention. It has many factors that are really positive. It's interesting. I use one.
And I repeat, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used
Interesting.
them in Four Winds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being in the classroom when a teacher's using it, like, some of you may know, I have some attention issues sometimes, and like, it's like.
That's so interesting.
It's
Wow.
really, it makes it sound like the teacher is right there.
Yeah.
So you really can't not pay attention.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
The 17-acre wood, I wanted to just include that one in there, and whether or not, does it make sense to put it in our budget, or potentially to assume that technology from capital reserves. Mason at the rec was strongly suggesting that we replace the soccer balls that are down there, that from what we described, they're quite old and do need replacing. And so that's about $7,200 to replace both of those goals. The pre-bond work from Black River Designs quote that they gave was $14,250. I figured I'd put this in here today. We talked about it towards the spring, because I don't think Christine was this in the FY. I think it was in there, but not without the increase.
Right.
Okay. So the 4,200 was this year. Now I don't know what that looks like for, so I'm talking to Tom today. Okay, no. Okay, I can talk to Dave and find out what that increase of the 4,200 was for this current year.
Yep.
The possibility of replacing the floors out here, you know, if we're in a great town, but we also understand that, you know, they do not necessarily get everything. And in talking with Jamie, she would love the opportunity to have a separate line for instrument movements. And her estimate for me at this point is about 20.
Does that include the number that you gave us before, was 2,500 to,
That's just in this.
that would be in this budget
Yes.
before this one kicks in, okay.
Correct. Yep.
With the hopeful improvements we're gonna, or construction we're gonna potentially do, redoing the front here, I mean, how many years out are we talking about if everything goes as planned? I was just thinking if we're gonna redo the
Yeah.
front, if we're gonna like,
Might as well
got this
wait.
whole thing in 3
Right.
years, then is it,
Then it might make sense in thinking about the.
I don't know what the timing is.
But what if,
I think it's due, but maybe we could look at it.
I don't know, yeah, I'm sure it's due.
I mean, if the funding came up, if the funding came through in a year from March, you know, I'm guessing it's 3 years off before it's completed, so
Yes, maybe that.
I'm not, you know.
taking the carpet out? Yeah, taking the carpet out and putting the
Those tiling things.
the tiling things that are in that other hallway down there. So it's a lot less maintenance on staff and, you know. And then I just wanted to include, this was the brand Lightspeed 975. Part of Windsor, I believe, last year installed some of these in their classroom. They, from what Katie, our friend, and Larry described to me, they're doing a similar phased approach and taking some rooms at a time.
That enable students to clearly hear their teacher and receive the best instruction at the right time. In the classroom, hearing is the primary channel for learning, but barriers exist that prevent students from clearly hearing and understanding the teachers, including backgrounds, distance, masks, and teacher focus. With a Lightspeed system, teachers wear a simple, lightweight wireless microphone that evenly distributes their voice with excellent clarity. And studies have shown that adding this technology ultimately improves instructional effectiveness and student performance. Lightspeed's 975 is a versatile, powerful instructional audio system that addresses these fundamental barriers to hearing, delivering high-quality audio for every student while seamlessly integrating with all your classroom technologies. The solution shines in its versatility, operating well in every type of instructional space across your campus. The 975 is available with multiple speaker options to fit various room sizes and shapes and speak types. And additional speakers can be added to cover larger areas such as media centers. The 975 provides a large wireless range with no audio dropout in any school space. And point-to-pair functionality allows teachers to quickly and easily move their microphone to different classrooms. Multiple audio outputs allows the 975 to integrate with laptops, mobile devices, and interactive displays and panels to ensure all multimedia audio is heard throughout the classroom. And audio outputs provide integration with assistive listening devices and with computers for distance learning and recording applications. Finally, Lightspeed's 975 solution now interfaces with a wide variety of life safety solutions, ensuring health-wide communications are never missed and triggering alert notifications directly from the teacher's microphone when they're bothered. The Lightspeed 975, built for the demands of today's and tomorrow's active learning spaces. To learn more, contact Lightspeed today.
Do we have any teachers who in this building who have used this before?
We were not.
Yes,
Not this
but you-
specific brand, but I think Windsor, I think I asked you what Windsor classroom, I believe there's someone had it installed. I think we could reach out to.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, what the teacher perspective on this is, and if they're noticing a difference, and if it's something that, like, some teachers here can, like, go over and, like, see what it looks like before.
So we do have teachers using systems like this here.
They're similar, yeah, it's called Phonak, yeah.
Yeah. We could probably even go check it out. Yeah, field trip to a classroom.
Yep.
And then,
I think that, I think is wired in,
yeah, that sounds.
and
like-
Phonak is like a speaker that stands, yeah.
From what I'm hearing on this, you can also set it up through your computer, which means that there will be more access to things.
Yeah, because I remember like the times that I've been in classrooms hearing. Yeah, it's not.
We're not that technologically advanced and stuff.
I wonder if the elementary teachers
Yeah.
have them.
They do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would start.
Yeah, because like some teachers, back in the days when we were in the building very far away, what, yeah. You know, the teacher would, like, oh, wait, here, use this, like, it's much better, and so they clearly like it. I mean, there are a lot of
Yeah, when one breaks, people are looking, they're, yeah, and we're kind of at that point now where things are breaking here and there, and it's gotten kind of old enough to the point where it's. The ones in our primary grades right now are in better condition, there's more of them down there, so it's like strategic on grade size.
And there's no potential for like unfortunate incidences of like using.
There's, I mean, I can.
Yeah, like I was like, is there
I don't
ways to
know.
block it? I would be that
I could
conversation
teacher
in the
would-
teacher's lounge.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Inappropriate conversation
I can speak
somewhere.
to the system I have before, which is not this system, so I don't know. But there was a range in which it like would stop. Where you
Okay,
couldn't
that's
pick it up anymore, but I can't say that for that specific brand. I have to look.
I don't know, I would be that person.
When you use it though, you hear yourself much clearer as well, so you don't. Yeah, no. That I am not sure.
There's a wonderful graphic novel called El Defo.
Yes, I've read
And there's a scene in, it's written and illustrated by a woman with hearing loss, and it's about her childhood. And there's a hilarious scene in this graphic novel where her teacher uses a device because she's deaf. And the teacher goes and you know, and like the entire school hears the teacher in the bathroom. Everyone's laughing, and she doesn't understand why because she can't hear it, and her friends have to explain it to her. It's very funny.
El Defo?
So El Defo. It's such a great book. It's by C.C. Dow. Check it out.
They have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
But hopefully that one.
And that's in the budget first, end of it.
Okay, so I have two thoughts. Both the, I'm thinking of the capital reserve fund and the budget. And like right now, I want to run all the numbers through the budget. But clearly you guys should weigh in. But I want to see how they fit in the budget. But then I was thinking about particularly the soccer goals and the 17-acre woods. Both of those are, they don't just benefit the school, and that feels like capital reserve. We do use capital reserve to benefit the school, but like, it just feels like more community things. And then maybe the capital reserve is another. I mean, it's has the property, but it's not like, it doesn't, that's right.
Right.
But
Only students will be using it. But it's I don't know, it feels like a capital expense.
it does.
Rather than.
And the gold is like, I would suspect most of the town is like, why is the school buying gold? They're not on the school property. Yeah, right. We'll just see where they end up.
I mean, I would agree with being open to that, especially if we it's tight.
And to follow up, last year, we did all the things, the
we were gonna phase the sinks, but we decided to do them all. Okay, so awesome. So that's not hanging over our heads. So we don't,
We did 8 out of 8, right? We talked about 4 out of 8.
yeah,
We should have hit all 8. I can double check.
I think we decided that once we were doing it on the capital reserve, we should do it on the range. Yeah. And there's no other gym path. Let's check off gym paths.
No, he's working on the 5-year plan with Larry.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten that back yet.
I had a lot of good changes. Kitchens in good shape.
Is there any other capital equipment that are needed?
In the kitchen, not that Brady's on.
Mr. Samuel wants new rugs somewhere. I forget where he told me he wanted new rugs. He was like, I just need new rugs. So anyways, there's somewhere where he wants new rugs.
Could be right out here. Could be right there. I can
We
see
should ask
that.
Mr. Samuel where he wants new rugs.
Probably
That
that
man,
way.
whatever he wants.
That's very coffee spills and I also wonder, I mean, this isn't for right now, but I also wonder if there's a cheaper solution to the moving town budget. Is there a cheaper solution to the flooring? Understanding that we may want to get rid of it. Like, understanding we may make changes in 3 years. It might not be worth investing 16,000 just to rip it up. And then if it doesn't pass, then we invest 16,000 3 years from now or something, you know.
Maybe that, I'm not sure, but I think that's generally that cheap option.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is looking, but, yeah, it definitely looks dumpy, but I hate to like get something nice.
Yeah, and I do feel like,
Dumpy.
as we're presenting the construction to the community, you know, making a point about being frugal and not replacing the carpet and then ripping it up is probably to our benefit.
Yeah, I agree.
And we should also consider that, like, if the name change happens, with all this, isn't that like signage and things might get in there too. So. It's true. They'll cut me some letters out. Should be cheaper.
He'll just wipe that out.
Yeah. Just wipe it out. Have the students maybe redesign the logo of Hartland Elementary versus Hartland School. Yeah.
Really?
I mean, the 3 bells is like,
They may not,
Yeah.
they may not understand.
They
don't
don't
say that.
Yeah.
We need to ring the bell.
And talk about the history of where they came from. Oh, it was from all the little schoolhouses around town when they consolidated. They brought the bells from the other buildings.
Oh, that's so cute.
And all came together,
Someone
right?
needs to do some history on the 3
There's
bells.
that newspaper.
Yes.
They should do a story about
Yes.
bells.
And then we should ring them, because we should just ring them.
Yeah. On Friday afternoon. Bring 'em.
Last day of school.
What? Yeah.
No, every Friday.
We should do it other times, right?
You know how to do it?
John Sam showed me.
You know, you should have like one student a week who gets to like literally ring the bell.
Oh, wouldn't that be
Like that's like you're the bell
Friday?
ringer of the week.
Every Friday to like ring in the weekend. I love that.
like that.
Bell ringer of the week.
They would love it. I almost feel like we should do like a lottery, not even a reward. And like, there's a lot of people.
Yes, but no, like whatever. As long as the kids ring it in the week.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how excited they are? Oh, I get to
I'm just glad this conversation happened, because I always thought they were so.
ring the bell. Okay, bell ringer of the week.
Yeah.
Select a kid.
Bell ringer of the week.
There you go, lottery. Totally like pick a name out of the hat.
No, and I do love the idea of talking to the kids about, so, you know, depending on where you live, you would have gone to, my kids would have gone to the Grout School.
This is a
and
good
some would have
history
gone
lesson.
to one
This is a
right?
good
Your
history
kids
lesson
would
of,
have
like,
gone to the,
Place and space.
right?
Yes.
And
Like kids owning their space.
each of the, and when did those schools
Fair
close
topic
down?
over here.
Yeah.
And what we got to
Could these find community members that actually went to the schools?
Yeah,
Yes.
great leadership
When did they close?
Now your
Close
outfit
in
colors
the
are showing.
late 60s.
So they're still.
Absolutely, yeah, there are people around here.
We gotta find some alumni of those other schools, the schools that
They could
consolidate.
come and talk about
John
what
Samuel will know, I'm sure between.
John
Yeah.
knows everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, this is place-based education.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, exactly, like, this
Started with
is
adults.
where you came from, where you live.
Okay, well, you know,
And
you
why?
said raise your
Okay,
hands, and
we
we all
all
just
would you like, sorry, you.
David Lamb and.
You have to go to a person.
No, really.
Other than.
So
David
there's a
Hall.
Heartland Historical Society,
Historical
Yes.
Society.
and
That would be
students
the
and
definitive
there's
summary.
a
They
book.
did- Last year, 6th graders did a really cool project. And primary sources, sources were John Samuel and David Lamb.
I feel like it would be a great project, and then you get a bell ringer.
So the public library, Elena, has a whole upstairs, the second floor of the public library is the Vermont room. And there are all these books up there on Vermont history and Heartland history. And there's a book called, it's like something the river, but it's like a history of Heartland. And it has chapters on all the
We have
different
a pretty
schools.
active historical society.
And we have an
To be
active historical,
honest.
yeah.
I hear field
You
trip.
can help out, or someone could come and, I'm sure someone would be willing to come and, you know.
On a side note, there's the Heartland Nature Club as well, that people, that's like a whole field trip in itself. It's behind Damon Hall, and they open it like once a year on 4th of July. And it's this like amazing natural history collection of like all these different geological
Fossils,
specimens.
oh, it's so cool.
Fossils,
You have to check that.
random
I'm
stuffed
always so
animals.
busy on 4th of July.
It is like, it is so, and like to get kids in there. I mean, that's my thing. That would be- All these little drawers to like. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I think you were just looking to leave this.
I know. I'll lead the field trip. I'll go. Well, and one of the women that was very involved in it actually just recently passed away. So we actually somebody very.
Making a walk there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are having a very spastic moment.
It's not even that late.
Did you catch all of that? It's all right all that time? Okay, good.
I'll lead the field trip.
Okay, so
Colleen, we miss
ringing the
you.
bells, history of the bells, apparently field trip to the library and the historical society, and something about nature club. You're on it, okay, good. Next.
The bell ringer.
And a bell
And a
ringer,
bell ringer.
a weekly bell ringer on Friday.
I love that idea.
Your school ends at 2:15.
I was gonna say,
Somebody at
it's only
2:15.
Tuesday, it can happen by Friday.
What?
Somebody found the bell ringer.
2:25,
I
sorry.
was writing that down, I'm just saying. They said 2:50.
Sorry, I meant to, no, this parent wants it back
It's
at 2:45.
We're down.
2:45. I get 2:50, they keep increasing on a day, it's 2:55 at this point, 3 o'clock maybe.
Okay. Been a long one.
It's not even 8 o'clock.
It's
It's not even 8 o'clock on the first.
It's right.
I'm still recovering.
I am still in action.
I don't think you have to just pass the minutes. don't you? Yeah, we need to pass the minutes because we're all
That's the
here.
only thing.
Okay, so we're gonna circle back to the minutes. I'm gonna cross that off. All those in favor of approving the minutes of October 4th, 2022, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, are you, what? What was
It just
that?
sounded like you sneezed in there.
Did you say yes, Colleen?
Yes.
Are you still laughing at our previous conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that would be, and I'll say yes, that would be 4 yeses, any nays? No, and 1 abstention. For the person taking the notes, the bell conversation can be less than a sentence.
Yeah, you don't need our spastic, our excitement going on there. It's not really exciting.
Probably should have said that before the bell conversation, but who knew where that was going? Okay,
I'm just excited that I learned.
I know, me too. I didn't know they were working bells, I just thought they were bells.
You've
never
last
been
day,
here on the
you've never
last
been
day
to
of
the last
school?
day of school? Oh, God, there's a whole thing. They ring
No,
the bell.
the Wildcats on Zoom.
I'm a teacher too,
They're like,
you
I had
know.
my last day
I'm
of
a
school.
teacher, like,
Yeah.
I'm over there trying to keep my kids from.
If you could ever do it,
You gotta go.
it is so, you'll cry, like you always cry.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it on,
Everybody
I'll do
cries.
it on my
Makes you cry.
children's 8th grade.
No, because the kid won't be here in 8th grade.
Yeah, because they graduate before and they don't come the last day
Not
before.
here on the last day of school. Seventh grade.
Seventh grade. you
Seventh
could do it.
grade.
Hey, can someone remind me of this, please?
Or you
Yes.
can make her, you can make her as a distributor.
Just so you can cry.
She makes me cry in other ways.
That's a really.
Continue.
Okay. Um, Okay, so setting the next agenda. Is that gonna be for December?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my
That
goodness.
feels weird.
This whole year.
That's already flying
Actually,
by.
speaking it back to items for action, we don't need to vote on the music request for 2,500. Because it's right, because we're trying to,
It's in the budget already.
yeah, okay, it's in the budget already, great, okay. We're just foreseeing it, okay, cool. So setting the next agenda,
It'll be a big budget.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I think that's our big budget agenda. I have school name on there, just, we want to hear the report on the bill. Is that my feed?
Expect some bell action from that.
So here's some bells ringing on Friday night. School name, bell report. Bell report.
Yes.
I love that they're all wrapped together.
Well, actually, so here's where my head goes, and like, I don't know any of the history of it, but were they all elementary schools that fed in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, K-8, they're all K-8.
They were all K-8, so.
And what are they called elementary school?
No, they were not.
They were
So for
wonderful
example,
schoolhouses.
the one on my road, the one at the end of my road, right, was the Grout School. And the Jennyville School is the one for
Where-
Jennyville.
Where is that? Where was it?
The North Heartland School, but the one in North Heartland. So that's interesting. That's what
What's
really,
the one
that's
that's
a good
that's
question.
where, that's why.
The one that did?
The Lambert's one on Dreamer.
Right, what was that one called? I don't know what that one was called. Draper.
Only 3 schools have 4?
There were more, I think there were like
Probably a lot.
6 or 7
Maybe only
actually.
three.
Maybe they're.
So they-
I'll ask John Samuel, 'cause he said
They
something about a bell
consolidated
that broke
down
the
to
ways.
3 at some point.
I think you're right.
And then I think those 3 consolidate, so it like,
There's a broken
Yeah.
bell.
Those are the original ones.
it was North Heartland, 3 corners and 4 corners at one point. So I think that's where the bells came
Somebody
from.
from the Historical Society is watching this.
Yeah.
So.
I know.
Yeah, there's a bell, at the old sign shop. Oh. Part of their front garden, and that's one of the Heartland historical bells as
The
well.
rec center, of course, was the school. So
Is there a bell?
is there a bell there? I don't know. Probably that one came to the
I
school.
didn't know
If
the
it
rest of
functions.
that was.
Yeah.
If it functions, it should probably also be public.
Yes.
It was like at a coordinated time across.
225.
25, bring your bells.
All the bells ring now.
There's so much, and there's so much cool history. Like, so our house used to be right on the road. And when they consolidated the schools, they had to completely rebuild the road so that the school bus could come by. And so they like completely like tore up the whole thing and moved, and like the road now is much farther away from our house, which is better. But it was all because they needed to be able to get a school bus. Because before that, all the kids just walked. And in a lot of the other parts of town, there were bridges that were built so they could get the school bus over the road.
School bus still can't go down.
And the school bus still can't go down some roads. But yeah, no, the kids will be, I think the kids would be fascinated to learn about it.
So that is definitely a school name bell update.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I think that's under the asterisk in your job description.
Their duties.
Other duties as assigned, yes.
Historical,
No, like, that we really don't want.
Well,
This is not extra work, it's
It's
curiosity.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can get it
Run
wrong.
on a Friday. Try everything. But like desensitize us. It's like, it's
Pavlovian.
Well, maybe it's like one ring as opposed to like last day of school, which is like 10 rings.
Oh, it's more than that.
Oh, it's a
No,
lot.
it just keeps going. Okay, so I've got the school name, budget. Is there anything else that's?
Maybe winter activities.
Oh, yeah, we
update,
probably
or
need
maybe-
winter activities.
Yeah.
It'll be December, it may not be much of an update, I mean, but I can give you what we got, because at that point, Linda will probably have January, yeah. So Linda,
6 weeks.
yeah, Linda and I will have sent out the, who's going to do what, her role is to get that ready about now to have by giving, just any other hunting down of information that we need.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to. I'm glad to be back. Yes. I'm glad it's back and I'm glad it's back.
Are we doing transportation back here?
I know. Okay. I think that that's probably a good agenda. So we are now at, taking a motion for executive session. For a short employee matter.
We would go into executive session.
Okay, that was moved by Sarah, seconded by Beth. Michael, thank you. It was really fun to have you for my conversation tonight.